Peter. All right. What's up, everyone? Matias here. We are with Katelynn Garcia, another member from Reverse Flip, just to go over one of her deals that is closing or has closed, or it's basically
It,
on the verge of closing.
yeah, almost. Hopefully within 2 weeks it should be completely closed.
Cool, awesome. So just kind of wanted to put together a very simple case study for everybody to understand a little bit about the deal. It's a multifamily home, correct?
Yeah, fourplex in Fort Lauderdale.
Cool. Cool. In a really, really hot location. So I'll do a screen share at some point to show you guys. But Katelynn, why don't you just give us kind of like a high level about yourself, your experience in real estate, how you came to reverse flip, and whatever you feel like sharing with us in that regard.
Yeah, well, this is my first ever experience with anything even related to wholesale. Um, I was in the real estate space as a loan officer, but that was pretty much it up until that point. Um, my fiance is a realtor, so he was having us go to real estate events, and we went to one in New Jersey where Will was actually one of the speakers at the time. And that's when we first heard about Reverse Flip. That was in September. So, right at the beginning of, right before school started and all of that. So, after that, we kept following up, and then school started. I think the first week of school was like the last week of September. And
Hmm.
this deal, we closed it October 2nd. So,
Cool.
it was like one of the first deals that we had done, and then I think even one of the first deals that even got into school.
So
So
basically, with very little, I mean, enough knowledge since you were kind of in the space and your fiance was in the space, but really this was kind of your first deal, and I think everyone's going to be pretty pleasantly surprised with what the results were from it and kind of the effort that you had to put forth.
yeah.
So let's just do this. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen so that everybody can see the property real quick, and then I just want you to kind of tell me about the property. And we'll I'll ask some questions and everything, but let me go ahead and share this. Okay, cool. So here's the property. So yeah, tell me a little bit about the property. What kind of like a summary of it and the summary of the specs, and then we'll go through some of the questions that I have.
Yeah, it's a 4 units, so 2 beds and 2 bath per unit. So it's not a regular duplex. Those are big units, and w- founded on the MLS. So it was listed as a short sale. It was
Okay.
going to auction, if I'm not mistaken, October 8th. And we got to the seller on October 2nd, spoke with her that same day, closed that evening. The units had been rented, so they, as you can see, like, people were living them. The units were okay. They weren't inhabitable, but the property just had really, really high city liens. I think it got to reach like 1.8 million. The property has been in foreclosure since 2016. So actually, the property was the seller's dad's unit. And actually, recently, I spoke to her more about how everything happened with this property. And she tells me that there was a flood. So the city made the property inhabitable on the first floor. So her dad, for a long time, I think it was almost 5 years, could only rent the top 2 units and couldn't have the first 2 units on the first floor rented. So that was a financial burden, and he had to repair that to become habitable, and it was just a really long process. Unfortunately, he passes away in 2023, and this issue gets inherited to her, um, and to the point that she was going to lose it on Tuesday of that week in October. We spoke with her, I think it was a Friday, and her realtor and her short sale negotiator at the time had run out of options. They're like super relieved that we had called, that we were offering this solution, because that was it. Like, there was nothing else on the table. They were going to lose it that week.
Okay. And
And
what did you guys do to postpone the auction?
so she filed bankruptcy. So she
Okay.
filed a suggestion of bankruptcy, and that stopped the auction. That
Okay.
gave us 90 days to start the process with the short sale and start working on the mortgage that she had on the property that was delinquent, and also at the same time start investigating the violations. She was also in the middle of a probate case, so that had to be worked on as well. So it's been a while, but without lack of effort. Like
Yeah.
it's been a continuous process.
Got it. So
Yeah.
this ended up being essentially a pre-foreclosure with a probate and the bankruptcy that she had to file.
Yep. All of it.
Pretty
All
crazy.
in
And
one.
yeah, I mean, it's a textbook reverse flip deal. And how did you guys find this property? Like where, what programs were you guys using to find it? Was it just the MLS or your fiance?
Well, Willie had started off recommending looking at properties that were on the MLS for more than
Hmm.
100 days, categorized as short sale. I
Okay.
had literally put in those features into the MLS, and that was a property that had been on the market for so many days, like
Hmm.
more than 100 days. And at the time, we were just calling different realtors on the MLS and proposing what reverse flip had to offer. And we got to that case at, it was like the afternoon, not knowing what we were doing, right? Because
Yeah.
that was like our first deal. And then they agreed because they were in need. And then it was, prepare the documents like crazy. There was another um, person in reverse flip, which is Chris, and he was also working the deal with us. And it was a team effort for sure. But
Cool. But I
that's
mean,
how we
long
got
story
it.
short, with minimal experience, minimal understanding, which listen to all of us that were, I guess you could say the OGs in reverse flip from like when it launched, we were all just running as fast as we could to get these. And I mean, a lot of deals like this ended up coming from that where the minimal experience, minimal or basic understanding of the model. And this was the first deal that you ripped as any type of real estate transaction, period.
Yeah,
It's
a
awesome.
lot of
It's amazing.
courage.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's why avoiding paralysis analysis is so key and just getting on the phones as quickly as possible. I mean, you're an exact testament. A lot of my deals in the very beginning were kind of the same thing. So I think that's amazing. And what ended up being like, how did you structure it with the seller? Because obviously you got the deed signed, you got all the documents that needed to be signed. So did you have to negotiate anything with them as far as a purchase price on the deed, or were they just so desperate to get out of it that they said, listen, as long as you can help me avoid foreclosure, then I'm on board.
Yeah. Well, I think since Chris, which was also in the reverse flip community, had contacted her at the same time, we had to come together and make one offer for her and kind of say, hey, we're all working on the same team. We want to help you. And we ended up offering her 2,500 to
Okay.
sign that day. And then with the expectation that once everything closed, she would receive $10,000.
Okay.
So that was the negotiation of the deal. To
Cool.
be honest, I didn't know how to present that. I was in the place of like it's impossible that someone would sign over their fourplex for anything less than I don't know an absurd amount of money. But
Right.
she was really helpful and like understood where she was and understood that we had to front all of the lawyer costs and the loss mitigation team, and
Hmm.
there were so many things that we were going to bring to the table that it wasn't an issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
She received that
So
well.
I mean, yeah, it's that's kind of the beauty of it too, because not only did she avoid foreclosure, but she was able to sell the deed in essence for some funds that I mean, this was on market for how long before you ended up getting it?
I think I can't remember, but I would say well over 100. I don't know. Maybe I can look it up here on my side for the prior listing, but
Yep. And
it
the
was
agent's
it was
also
a good
getting
time.
his commission, right, at close?
Correct. Yeah, the agent is
Yeah.
getting his commission at closing. Um, I mean, and relieved too because
Hmm.
The reverse flip basically took care of everything. This was something that they had been working on for so long, and it was gonna get lost. Um,
Yeah. It went from them not making anything to him being able to get his commission, the seller selling the deed for a certain amount and avoiding foreclosure. And then obviously what I'm sure everybody who's going to be watching this video is going to be most interested in. So I know I already have an idea of the number, but what's the projected revenue or profit, let's say, that's going to end up going and getting split out on this?
well, the the target sale price right now is about 1 million,
Hmm.
and the short sale negotiation was brought down to 750.
Wow.
There's some other costs that
Hmm.
that are there. I mean, the liens have to get paid off. Um, we obviously have to give the seller, the money that she was promised, all of our lawyer fees and little things that add up. But I think the spread should be about 120, if I'm not
Cool.
mistaken.
Beautiful.
Um,
So, and you said the liens were somewhere around 1.8 million,
yep,
and that
1.8
doesn't
million.
include the mortgage, right?
No.
Cool. And then the final payout or payoff ended up getting negotiated down to about 750, a little bit of liens in there, but I mean, huge discount based on what the loss mitigation team was able to accomplish. So we're
Yeah,
talking, this was submitted, let's just say like the last week or first week of October, more or less.
the first week of October. Yeah, October
Yeah.
2nd.
So about somewhere between 90 to 120 days between actually getting this started and getting it closed, where I think the most important thing to highlight, which is the consistent thing with the reverse flip deals, obviously, as you know, is this was a dead deal under any other circumstance. I mean, without going through the processes that we ended up taking it through, this would have just died on the vine, which is one of the most interesting things, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, that's amazing. You guys crush it. Chris is obviously the man, as are you and Waldo. So couldn't be happier to see you guys take one of these wins, especially with a nice return that's going to get split amongst everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to finish that up, I'm checking here. The property was listed for 200 days. So it was on
Wow.
market for 200 days
Wow.
and nothing was being done with it.
Crazy. So that agent, I mean, that agent was 100%, or let's just say 99% sure he wasn't going to get, or she wasn't going to get their commission out of it. And it's amazing. I mean, yeah, this is a textbook. This is exactly why I wanted to do this case study, because been hearing about this deal for a long time. So now knowing that it's on the way to closing, hopefully within the 2 weeks, and everybody getting paid out. Again, seller avoided foreclosure, agent's going to get paid. Really, it's that triple win that we like to talk about in the community.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would share with us that you would recommend for either people that are getting started in reverse flip or that are kind of on the fence about joining? Just any feedback that you've had in that regard.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of fear on my end on making this call. Again, it was early on in this process, and the biggest part with reverse flip is changing your mindset and really realizing that this is possible, that this isn't something that is too good to be true. There's a real need for it. And just getting over the fear of making the call and reaching out to these person and people and really genuinely offering everything that reverse flip has to offer, it sells itself.
Mhm.
um, there are people that maybe are not the ideal person, that is not in the need that we have to offer, and you just have to keep looking. But there are people like this seller that was in need of what we had to offer, and it was so easy. It really was.
How many calls did you make leading up to this one? Because I mean, it can't have been too many if it was one of your first deals.
No, I would say max about 10 calls
Wow.
before I made this call. And again, I wasn't making that many because I was still getting over the thought process, but
Yep.
everything happened how it needed to be. At the day before, I had proposed to myself. I was like, I just need to close one deal. And if I close one deal, I know that I will commit to this moving forward. And that's how it was. This was the first one, and we're talking 3 months later and we're still within the reverse hook community, still working every day to find deals. And we haven't looked back.
Amazing. I love it. Well, Katelynn, I appreciate you. Appreciate you jumping on this with me to record this video and say what's up to Waldo for me. And
Yeah,
yeah, let's keep at it. I'm excited to see what else you guys end up drumming up.
yeah, hopefully. Thank you, Matias. And we'll see. We'll keep working hard.
That's it. Exciting times ahead, but awesome, Katelynn. Thanks.
Thank you. No worries.